I've got the ultimate blockbuster trade that the Rams need to make at the deadline. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button for your Los Angeles Rams. Getting close to 20K. Also, podcast listeners, write us a review. We'll read on the show. My name is Doug McCain. You can call me, friends call me DMAC. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. Covered LA sports for over a decade. The LA Sports Report, 24/7 Sports, Locked On, Dodgers Nation, SI, Bleach Report. And as always, I'm joined by the Rams pre, half, and post-game show host for the Rams flagship radio station, ESPN 710 LA. He's in his 11th season covering your Los Angeles Rams. The People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. You can follow him on X at Travis Rogers. And on today's episode, we got some more winners and losers. Could we see the Rams make a trade to bolster this team and maybe go all in even more than they already are? We got more injury updates to talk about too. But first, today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. All right, Travis, so before we get into it, I don't know if you saw this, Puka Nacua on the sideline getting his guys all hyped up. And it was when you've seen this red zone offense struggle and Puka Nacua is yelling at his guys, we got to earn the right to dance. We got to earn the right to dance. We're much better than this. That's a side of Puka I've never seen before. Did you get a chance to see this? I was pretty impressed.
I did see it. I was impressed. I wasn't surprised, right? I felt like that's kind of what, if I had to guess, he was like on the sidelines with his teammates. That's about what I would have imagined, that he's incredibly passionate. He cares deeply about what it is that they're doing. And I think that just kind of informs one of the things that you and I have talked about so frequently, which is, this, is he going to survive? Is he going to get through it? Like, he is not wired to step out of bounds. He is not wired to get down, that the ride is over. He's going to fight for every inch, for every yard. You could see it when he was telling his teammates, this is how we're going to do this. This is just how this man plays, and he's never going to change. I liked it too. It was very inspirational.
I thought it was cool. I mean, I think you don't view, he's kind of this happy-go-lucky guy with the smiles. He's always grabbing the social media cameras after and talking to Rams fans, but all the greats internally, that's kind of how they're wired. So yep. I like the fact that he recognizes that. I like the fact that someone out there is recognizing that this is an issue and understands, hey, we got to get better from that standpoint. So I really liked it. I think Puka Nacua certainly has already established himself as one of the best players in the NFL. But then on top of that, I think you're adding team leader too. And I didn't know how much of a leader he was. I mean, there's always a lead by example guys. Then there's the vocal guys. Never came off as a massive vocal guy, but maybe that's not the case.
Yeah, no, I think that you could see like his teammates were responding to it too. This wasn't, sometimes you can read the body language of people. It's like, dude, will you please stop? Just go away. We're not buying this at all. And that wasn't the case. Like, you could tell they were fired up, and whatever it takes to get guys to perform in that red zone, maybe he needs to go over and fire up Sean McVay. Maybe he needs to go over there and get into him a little bit about what they're doing inside that red zone, because first of all, Rams are 4-2, so they're in a really good spot. So, all's well that ends well kind of situation. We've been so preoccupied with what's going on in the kicking game that we haven't really focused on the fact that red zone offense is not where it needs to be. That when you go and start playing better teams, certainly when you get into January football and are playing playoff games, you're going to have to score touchdowns, not kick field goals. So Puka realizes that that's an issue. Puka realizes that they need to get better there. So I think they're certainly headed in the right direction.
Absolutely. And as far as the right direction, kind of big picture, we kind of get into the nitty gritty on this show, but big picture, we got a fan that asked us a question down below in our last episode. It was pretty simple. It was DMAC Travis. Do you feel better or worse about the Rams after beating the Ravens 17-3 and where they're at in the power rankings. And right now, I mean, you look at consensus power rankings, the Rams sitting there on 7, sometimes 8. Only teams that are listed above the Rams, you got in the NF, you got Tampa Bay as number 1. Tampa Bay, really? The team most lost. Detroit number 2, just lost to the Chiefs. Buffalo Bills have now looked at the Buffalo Bills. The Colts at 4, team of the Rams beat. I guess just say A.D. Mitchell lost, but 5, you got the Philadelphia Eagles. 6, you have the Packers, and 7, you got the Rams. Now, when I saw this question from this fan down below, by the way, shout out, his name is Tom Stevens. When I saw this question, I was like, I don't know if I feel better or worse. I don't feel neutral. But then his question made me look at the power rankings. And after looking at the power rankings, I feel better because none of those teams in front of the Rams are teams that I would say would blow out the Rams. I mean, the Rams would be competitive, all those teams, and no one will be surprised if the Rams beat any of those teams, home or away.
Yeah, I agree. I don't feel better after the win against the Ravens, other than the fact that they won the game, but I don't necessarily feel worse either. I think the answer to the question about the power rankings is kind of obvious, frankly. I don't think there is a best team in the league. I think there are like 10 pretty good teams. There are 10 mediocre teams, and there are 10 kind of lousy ones. And that's just kind of unusual because usually, especially for the last few years where it's been Kansas City, it's been Philadelphia, Baltimore, quite frankly, Buffalo's been in there for a while where, okay, that's the team that everybody's chasing. I don't think there is a team that it's clearly not the defending champion Eagles. Tampa, I guess if, Tampa's got the best record, they're the only one-loss team in the league, but I don't know if they're the best team necessarily. Detroit's kind of up and down. The Rams can't make a kick. The Chiefs look like they've gotten old. So I think everybody's got a flaw. I don't know if anybody's, significantly better than anybody else, but if you had the Rams at 7, that seems right. If you had the Rams at 2, I wouldn't argue with you. If you had the Rams at 10, I don't think I'd argue that aggressively. I think those top 8, 9, 10 teams are all about the same. I don't think anybody's separated from the pack.
And you're in the mix, too. You're in the mix after 6 games. And I think when you look at a lot of those teams, you could make the case the Rams have as much growth potential as any of those teams because they have things that you can easily identify to clean up. You can clean up special teams. You can clean up unforced errors and mistakes and getting drawn off sides like they did. And you can score some more red zone touchdowns. But I will say, to answer Tom Stevens' question, for me to feel better about the Rams, my rule is always this, Travis. I need 2 consecutive complete games. 2 consecutive complete games where offense, defense, scoring tutties in the red zone, making your kicks, not having a ton of penalties, not making mistakes in the red zone, not costly turnovers. If you give me back-to-back complete games, I'm not talking about a Yamamoto complete game, which is phenomenal, one of the best we've ever seen. I'm talking about a football complete game, then that's when I start to think, okay, now I'm feeling good about where this team's at. And I think that a lot of the problems that the Rams have are it's Rams versus the Rams and them cleaning up their own issues, getting healthy as well, too, the Puka Nacua scare. But I really do feel like it's possible for this team.
I do too. I think you said it well. I do think they are fighting against themselves or competing against themselves because I haven't seen anybody go up. The 2 games that they lost were clearly self-inflicted. One of the games they won, they probably should have lost. You mentioned that Colts game a little bit earlier. I think, I'm just going to steal from the book of McVay and say complimentary football 5 times in a row, right? That's the phrase that he says over and over again after a game, that's what he's looking for. That's when they're firing on all cylinders. That's when they're at their best. Like you mentioned, offense, defense, special teams. I'll throw a 4th element in there. The sidelines too, right? Like Sean McVay has had some weird stuff this year that he typically doesn't have.
4 block kicks.
Exactly. 4 block kicks, some weird play calls on 4th downs that haven't made a whole lot of sense. And I think that the thing you mentioned is at the top of the list that McVay has, and I get it, he's not the special teams coordinator, but he is the head coach. He can fix the special teams coordinator. He can remove the special temes coordinator. He can, find someone else to do it. That's ultimately his responsibility. And he hasn't. So, I'll throw a 4th phase in there, offense, defense, special teams, and getting the sideline squared away. Because, look, this is a really good team. And anybody that's listened to Locked On Rams, any of our everydayers know how you and I feel about Sean McVay. We're huge fans. but he hasn't been great this year either. And it's just kind of everybody involved in this has had some ups and some downs. Nobody more so than the special teams unit. But to your point, until we see a couple of games in a row where all four of those things look like they're pretty good, I think we're going to kind of sit here and say, show me again.
Absolutely. No McVay stand 100%, but I think that what I like about McVay too is that he's a guy that knows how to grow. He's a guy that is always challenging himself. By the way, my question to you, Travis, you come off as a wordsmith to me, and I don't know if you watched Sean McVay's show with JB Long, which is a fantastic show. I don't miss an episode. I noticed that McVay's, I was like, hey, it was a key and critical play. He was key and critical there. It was key and critical. Do we need key and critical, or can we do it just one critical? Or I don't know. You tell me.
It could just be key or critical, but not key and critical. Yeah, I'm with you. Look, McVay's brain moves so fast. I think he's got some, but look, you know this, I know this. Anybody that talks a lot in public, you have some verbal crutches that you go to use, right?
No facts, yeah.
And we all have these things that we say.
Mine is bringing up UCLA football. Like
yours is a good one. Mine is always at the end of the day. I say until somebody pointed it out to me, I didn't even know how often I say it, and I say it constantly. And it's just maybe that's his little key and critical is key and critical to him.
My mom's is what it is, and Seinfeld did that bit like knocking the phrase is what it is, and I stand for all the time. I don't know. I hate that is what I don't know, but you'll see. But coming up next, we are talking about the trade deadline. How aggressive will the Rams be at the trade deadline? The Dodgers need to trade for a start. They got this guy, but how aggressive will this Rams team need to be? Will they go out there, make a splash? Will the FM Picks era come back? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs. With features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance, you can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go, while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
All right, the NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you are not going to want to miss, because if you are a new customer right now, you can bet just $5. If you bet those $5, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets if that $5 bet hits, right? That's right. You heard me right. You pick a bet, you just put down $5, and if that bet wins, you're going to unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So no matter how you like to play, FanDuel's got you covered, right? If you like parlays, FanDuel's got parlays. If you like player props, which quite frankly are pretty awesome, they're a lot of fun, FanDuel's got a ton of player props. And if you like to have the game kind of start and see where the flow is going and maybe what's going to happen next, you kind of got some intuition going on there, live lines during the game at FanDuel as well. They've got you covered on all of these things. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got that little something extra riding on the action. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Special shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching, listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Cannot thank you enough. If you are new to the show, lots of new viewers, lots of new listeners lately, join that Everyday Listeners Club. All you got to do is watch and listen, or do both, to everything that we drop, and you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. All right, Travis, so second segment, we are inching closer and closer to the November 4th trade deadline. And not a lot of rumors percolating right now. You had Sean McVay a couple weeks ago talking about the cornerback position and pretty much saying that, I mean, in his words, that's not something they were talking about as far as going after the cornerback. We know the cornerback position is an area where, because of the injury to Akella Witherspoon, he's not going to be back until the estimate was week 12. And even then, when he comes back, how is he going to look? But the cornerback position is interesting because there are some names out there. I mean, the Greg Newsome got traded. I think you look at Ravens cornerback, Awuzie could be an interesting option. But I just want to throw something out there. Jeffrey Simmons is someone who could be traded, and he could likely be traded. And yes, he's not a cornerback, but he is elite on the defensive line. He could do some Aaron Donald-ish type of things for this team. And I look at this. If you are going to go all in and you are Leslie and the Rams, there's not really that cornerback out there that you want to give a 2026 first-round pick for. You look at the NFL draft next year. Is there a quarterback right now that you want to trade way up to go get? I'm not doing it for Arch Manning, right? I'm not doing it for Dante Moore or any of these guys. I'm looking at what player can you include on this roster that could put them over the top. Instead of filling a need, can we get a put them over the top player, maybe at a position you weren't originally looking at? Jeffrey Simmons is someone who'd be a major splash for this team, and he's someone I would consider going all in for and even trading that 2026 first-round pick.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea because you go back to when they won the Super Bowl back in Super Bowl 56, was they kind of doubled down on something they were already pretty good at anyway when they went out and got Von Miller, right? That when you went out and got Miller, it wasn't that your pass rush wasn't particularly good. It's that a really good player became available and you doubled down on something you were already. I mean, Aaron Donald was on the team already. You already had a guy that was getting into the backfield constantly, but adding Miller to it was, a huge part in putting them over the top, like you're talking about. Now, if Les Snead and Sean McVay think that a player like Simmons could put them over the top, then yeah, look, I will put my faith in those guys having a better feel for what may or may not be what they need than anyone else. So sure, but if you can't cover at all, and maybe that's a bit extreme, I don't know how much it matters if your pass rush is elite. If you can't, we saw what San Francisco was able to do to them. We know what it's going to look like in the playoffs where you're playing against good teams and for the most part against pretty good coaches. They're going to put together a game plan to exploit where you're weak. I would rather see them do something in the back end, but if they think that's something that can put them over the top and double down on a strength, I don't hate it. I think that we're both kind of on the same page, Doug, that this is a group that goes for it when they feel like they're close, and they're clearly close. Now, and like we kind of talked about in the first segment, there's nobody that's way better than anybody else. It's not like you have to close this massive gap to get to the top of the pile. You just have to get a little better, and you could be at the top of the pile. So I would expect them to do something. They always have when they feel like they're close, and I don't think anybody would dispute the fact that they're pretty darn close.
And see, that's what's interesting to me, because in the past when we saw the Von Miller deal, right, we saw them go all in on Jalen Ramsey. It was kind of when they were bringing in guys knowing that they did have a window there of multiple seasons, whether it be 2, 3. They made those deals knowing, yes, this deal is to win the Super Bowl this year. In 2021, it worked. But they felt like, okay, we have a couple of seasons with this because we still have Matthew Stafford that we know is going to be around for multiple years. The thing about this year, I think it makes it a little different, is we don't know if Stafford is going to be back next year. I think he will. I think he finishes his career with the Rams. But I think that it's not necessarily an all-in type of thing this year. It's, hey, we need to make a move just to know that we're looking back and we didn't put all that draft capital, all those resources, develop all those guys to make another run, and they didn't. So I almost think that you owe it to yourself to make a move to try to bolster this roster. Like you said, there's no juggernauts out there that really make you fear, the Chiefs, the Bills. They don't have these juggernaut teams. And but one more piece, like the Rams could be a scary team. They could really, really be a scary team. And I think that one thing we know about this Rams team too is when they start getting elite talent where it's the top dogs of their positions, that's when they start winning Super Bowls, right? I mean, when Whitworth, he comes in, Aaron Donald, top dog at his position, right? You look at the defense, Jaron Verse, if he's going to be a top dog at his position, is he that right now? Still, I think has some work to do. Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, lots of good parts, but where's that like top dog, right? Jeffrey Simmons, he leads the league in pressures on the interior line. Like he's that top dog premium talent we know we got that other side with Puka, Stafford, and Devontae. I think you flipped on the defensive side too for some premium top-level talent.
I think you brought up a great point, which is the Stafford of it all. Like this kind of felt like they got that pick from the Falcons to maybe package something to move up to try to find who's ever going to be, throwing the ball for this team down the road. Obviously, injuries are the great equalizer, and nobody knows what's waiting for any of us around the corner. But I haven't seen a single thing that lets me believe Matthew Stafford still isn't really, really good. And like we've talked about a million times, if you have one of those guys, you owe it to your fans, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to the rest of the guys on the team to go for it while you have one of those guys. They have one of those guys. Look, it's going to come to an end at some point. It doesn't feel like it's around the corner. I mean, it might be 2 seasons from now, but we've been saying that for a couple of seasons. And I just, as long as number 9 can still do what he's been able to do, I think you shoot your shot. I think you go and spend whatever draft capital you have and try to get one more of these with him on your team. Because look, let's just put the cards on the table. The odds of the next Rams quarterback being as good as Matthew Stafford are virtually zero. They're virtually zero. Okay. Like, look, even if you pick at the top of the draft, the odds Matthew Stafford is 9th all time in passing yardage. You're not drafting a guy that's better than this. You're going to backslide at that spot. Now, maybe you don't backslide a ton, but you're going to get worse. So while you're still elite at that spot, I love the idea of going all in, push the chips in the middle and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I was just about to say that. I was just about to say that when you're in the draft and you trade up for a pick, when you trade up for a quarterback, you do that in hopes that you get, I don't know, a guy like Matthew Stafford, right? a guy that you already have.
Dreams.
Yeah, and you only get those guys typically with the number 1 pick or the top 5 pick, right? I mean, there's, of course, a lot of exceptions. Lamar Jackson, there's a lot of tons of exceptions. But for where this team is, as far as, I mean, look, Puka Nacua, elite, has dealt with injuries. Take advantage of an elite Puka Nacua year. Devontae Adams, was he going to be back next year? How much prime does he have? Right. Kyron Williams, he's on a couple-year deal. The offensive line is getting older. I mean, the truth of the matter is that I think this team almost should feel pressure in going all in on this season, trying to bolster that roster just because you look at the history of their success. And I'm a major proponent of bringing in proven veteran players and using draft capital to get those proven veteran players. I mean, we already have the names that we mentioned just now, right? Von Miller. And you look at Jalen Ramsey, how they brought him in. But Matthew Stafford's an example of that, right? Yes. Corbett, Sony Michel, A'Shaun Robinson. I mean, even Gay. I mean, there's so many guys across the board that this is the formula of success for this team. Because on top of that, too, you have an attractive marquee organization where you bring in players and those players are willing to sign extensions that want to be a part of this culture, that want to win. So I think that's a benefit that they have as well, to where it makes sense. Hey, let the Cleveland Browns try to draft their players, right? Let those other guys try to draft their players, right?
I don't want the mystery box. I don't want it. Nope. I'll take that. I'll take the boat. I don't care that there might be a boat in the mystery box. I will take the boat. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the thing too is they have drafted well, and they should be reaping the benefits of the Puka Nacuas, the Jared Verses, the Kobe Turners, the Byron Youngs, and then you couple that. So the more I think about it, the more I think it's like a complete no-brainer to do something. At this point, I'd be very disappointed if they didn't. I think they will. They when they get close, they go for it. And my deal. I kind of think that what you've shown us is what you will do, and that's what they've always done.
Love to hear it. And the fact that we're talking about this team as a buyer is something to feel really good about, too. And namely, the success of Matthew Stafford this season. But coming up next, could a veteran offensive lineman be losing his job soon? That's coming next on Locked On Rams.
NFL season is back, and honestly, there is nothing than being back or that's better than being in the stadium surrounded by fellow fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, the challenge is getting the tickets. It can be a bit of a hassle. So between the queues, the login screens, prices jumping at checkout, it can be incredibly frustrating. That's why I like to use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime's fast, it's easy, it's backed by the Gametime guarantee. You're always going to get 100% authentic tickets, always delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, my favorite part, all fees included. So the price you see is the price you pay. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've ever bought tickets, right? So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON NFL, Locked On NFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Okay, Travis, so a bonus winner from this weekend's win over the Ravens is Warren McClendon at right tackle. He's played well. He's performed well in Rob Havenstein's absence. Havenstein's been dealing with an ankle injury for a while now. He's missed the last 2 games. And by basically every single metric, Rob Havenstein has been one of the least productive, let's put it nicely, offensive lineman at his position in the league. He's kind of getting up there, a lot of time at that position. We know that as the St. Louis Ram. And then McClendon has taken advantage. I will say the 49ers and the Ravens, those are 2 of the weakest pass rushes in the sports. I think you do have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. There are a lot of people out there screaming for Rob Havenstein to be replaced. I just want to throw this out there. And I know that I'm a guy who, if there's a chance to change something, I'm like, let's change it. Let's get exciting, right? I still believe in Rob Havenstein because I think it's a health issue. And if you need to give him extended time off or whatever it may be, I trust him at this current state more than I would even a better performing by certain metrics Warren McClendon.
It's Blake Trinan at right tackle.
Oh, there you go. I like that.
It's what it is, right? It is a guy that the manager / head coach trusts. Is he the player that he once was? Probably not. Is he a known commodity? Yes. Do you know what you're going to get more often than not? Yes. Do you know that he's not going to panic in a big moment? Yes. Do you know that he's going to understand the assignment? Yes. And that's what coaches and managers like. They know, they love it when they've got a guy that they can count on. Even if that performance has declined to a certain degree, they know that there's not going to be a complete and utter breakdown. Young players scare the you-know-what out of coaches and managers because they're unpredictable. You know, you could have a brilliant performance or you could have a why did you go left when everyone else went right kind of moment. So, look, McClendon's been good. It's satisfying that it gives them a little depth at tackle if they need it, but I'm with you. I do not need the shiny new toy here. Rob Havenstein, look, we just talked about this with Matthew Stafford. He's not going to be here forever, but I still think that, you know, especially when you're playing more and more challenging opponents, more and more, high stakes. I want a guy that's been around the block a few times. So I'm going to ride with Havenstein.
100%. I am too. And if he continues to struggle as the season goes along, then maybe you start to have that conversation. But at least right now, I don't think he's a guy that should get Wally pipped because of the performance of McClendon. I still want to see him get his job. But BRB, I'm going to go find a brick wall to run through and watch Puka Nacua's speech again on the sideline. So you got to run. We got our Jaguars crossover episode.
Indeed.
That should be fun. We got going across the pond. Good time.
Yes,
so what time you got to get up on Sunday?
Oh, my gosh. So pregame starts at 4:30 in the morning. So, yeah, the kickoff's at 6:30 a.m., man. The West Coast team's going to London.
So it means, what time do you have to like get up and leave?
I will be out the front door of my house by 3.
Wow. That's
the good
pretty.
news is, Doug, the good news is that by the time it's all said and done and it's over and I do my postgame show, I'm still going to get a round of golf in on the backside. So that's actually the upside. So that's good news.
There you go. Hey, that's a complete day for Mr. Travis Rogers.
And no Dodger game on Sunday, even if the series is still going.
I'll be honest with you, bro. No Dodger game Saturday either.
Yeah, well, maybe not, but no Dodger game for Sunday for sure.
Little week off action, but love it, City of Champions. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. You can follow the People's Chat, Mr. Travis Rogers, and catch his show on ESPN LA. DeMarco and Travis in the afternoons. A lot of Rams talk over there. See you guys tomorrow. And until next time, whose house is Locked On Rams house?